Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In a previous video, I had mentioned that I picked up this set of Marcher tires and I had already received my Adam Gates wheels here. So in this episode, that's what we're going to try and do. Get these things in color and maybe even get them mounted in the tires here. Now, these wheels and tires, I'm hoping I save a little bit of weight over my Michelins that I currently run on the truck. But before we can get them mounted up and find out, I need to get these things in color. Now, what the plan is to actually base coat, clear coat, paint these wheels. The previous wheels, or the current wheels that I'm running, are actually powder coated. And I don't have any problems with the powder coat. It's just, it costs money to have stuff powder coated. I have a good friend here locally that does all of my powder coat work, but I don't expect him to do this stuff for free. So on average, it's something like this big wheel. By the time he gets it sandblasted, prepped, and powder coated, it's gonna cost you a couple $100 per wheel. So, to save myself that little bit of money, I ended up buying a gallon of base coat in the color that actually matches most everything here on the place. The Peterbilt and Midnight Panic, the buggy itself, and even my pickup sitting out front here are all this same color right here. I believe it's a color code UJ in the Ford book. I think Ford might call it sterling silver metallic, something like that. I don't know, I got the code wrote down and that's just what I paint all of this stuff. I like the color and it's nice to have everything matching. As far as my pickup sitting out front, that was just a coincidence that I ended up buying that thing in the same color, but it works out in the long run. Now, I have a gallon of base coat and that gallon is not sprayable. So by the time you mix in your reducers and whatnot, that's gonna end up about 1.5 gallons of sprayable base coat. So I have an excess of this color right now. It seems like an excess now. I wreck a couple of bodies on Midnight Panic, we might run a bit short. But as I see it right now, we have 1.5 gallons of this paint sitting in the cabinet. We just as well paint these wheels that color, then we'll clear coat them and we'll go from there. Now that is just one side of the wheel barrel that is going to be that color. The outer bead that bolts on, I'll show you more on that here in a little bit, but the outer bead of that is actually going to end up the same color blue as the back of the bed on the truck. That was kind of a suggestion from both Allison and Christina. They thought that the truck could actually use a bit more blue on it, so we're going to try it. It's not that big a deal. If we don't like how it looks, I can have those outer parts bead blasted, sand blasted, and then we can repaint them again. But we're going to try them blue for right now. In an effort to kind of save you guys a little bit of the boring stuff, I've already moved the buggy out of this building. I've actually taken it up to the house, got it parked in the garage so it's out of the way. Kind of shuffled some stuff around here in this storage side of the building, kind of get it out of the way so I can close off this corner of the building. This is basically my paint booth once I slide all the tarps out where they need to be. So we've got that pretty much ready. I've taken and wire wheeled these wheels, used a wire wheel attachment on my grinder to knock the little bit of surface rust that was just starting on the wheels. When I received these wheels, they were really clean, had like a protective, something protective sprayed on there. I believe it was kind of oily or whatever. But they were in the back of my truck and sat through a pretty good rainstorm while we were out at that off-road event we did at the end of October. So by the time I got them here unloaded and then they sat while I was at work for one rotation, they ended up starting to get a little bit of surface rust in a few spots. If you go back to the previous video, you can kind of see in the background where they were turning a little bit orange color. So I've already attacked them with that wire wheel attachment, got them all cleaned up. They're basically ready to wipe down with some final wash, and where we'll start with the paint is actually etcher primer and then base coat and clear coat. Nothing special. I don't need any high build primer, nothing like that. I'm not going to block sand these wheels. Just going to spray the etcher on there so it bites into the metal, gives the paint a good surface to bite into, and then we'll clear coat. Now these particular wheels here, this half of the wheel, I'm going to spray with a shiny clear so that they're, have a high gloss finish when they're done. And then the outer bead that is blue will be the matte finish that matches the rest of the truck. So hopefully that turns out. We'll see here shortly. So what I'm going to do is set you guys up. I'll probably just time lapse me wiping these things down, get the paint booth ready. Then we'll get to spraying some primer on these wheels here. Well, as per the instructions, I've got one medium coat on all four wheels here. Just getting enough primer on there to adhere to the bare steel good, and then my base coat will bite into that really well. So all we're shooting for here is getting the inside of the wheel, the portion of the wheel drum there that's going to be inside the tire. We want to get good coverage in there, and the back of the wheel. That's what we're shooting for with them standing up here in this position. If I can do that and keep the insides of the wheels, the side that's inside the tire, from rusting and getting all nasty. And then this side here, you're not going to see it so much on the truck, but I still need to get color on there. That's what we're going to focus on right now. Got them in primer, we'll get them in color and then clear coat. Then they'll sit overnight. Tomorrow, I'll bring this fixture in here that I've built. So I've taken this Pettibone wheel hub, and this is actually what they refer to as a light duty wheel hub, or that's what I've heard of them referred to as a light duty Pettibone. So they're slightly different than the ones I'm running on the truck. The wheel hub is slightly different, the spindle is a little bit different, and the knuckle is lighter duty. So the stuff that you see here is not spare parts for my truck because they don't interchange with my parts. There are some pieces, I guess this cover right here, and then your planetary gears, the planetary carrier, and the girdle, those are all interchangeable. I've removed those parts from here with the exception of the pie pan cover here, and I'm just using the wheel hub and the bearings and this spindle. I've taken a piece of pipe that fits in my engine stand here, welded it to the spindle, and I've got it in here so I can bolt a wheel on here just like you would on the truck and be able to turn that wheel. So if I need to roll the wheel around where I can maybe see in there with a little better light or a little better angle on the gun, the spray gun to actually apply the paint, I think this might be pretty handy. I suppose the downside is I can only do one at a time, but I think I can set them up on there, apply the paint, let it sit for a little bit, and then I can grab it, say by one of the bolt holes for the outer bead and the valve stem hole, or maybe the valve stem hole by itself. Lift that wheel off with the cherry picker, set it off out of the way, put another wheel on here, and go ahead and spray paint. We're gonna try that. We'll worry about that tomorrow. As for right now, I need to go get some paint mixed up and get ready to shoot the gray color on these four wheels. Well, we got our color on here. Turned out okay. I didn't get all crazy with doing, different patterns, spraying these wheels. As a matter of fact, I really didn't do much more than one medium coat on them. Just enough to make sure they got color on them. My clear will stick to it. We should be good. As a matter of fact, that wheel right there, you can see a little bit of striping in it. You certainly wouldn't want that for your finished color, on a body panel or something, but the inside of the wheel where the tire is gonna be at, it'll be fine. Blow a little clear on it, keep everything locked down, locked in, we should be good. Now, as far as this part here where it's gonna be outside, I guess technically outside the tire, it will be the inside of the wheel. I did get that in there pretty good without getting a whole bunch of build on this plate. This is still a pretty minimal application. I didn't put any more material on there than I really needed. All of them turned out pretty much the same, and all of them are pretty much ready for clear coat. I'm gonna go mix some of that up, get them sprayed so they can sit overnight. Well, step 3 is complete on these wheels. Well, as far as this stage goes anyway. Again, I didn't get too carried away on the clear coat on here. Put just enough on there to lock everything down. There's no point in trying to make these things like glass or bury anything in clear coat. You're gonna get the same finish pretty much whether you get a good heavy coat or 3 medium coats. I'm not gonna cut and buff these things, so they're gonna look good as is. Everything's locked down. Nothing's running away on it. I am gonna let them sit overnight. My reducer is a little bit slow for the temperatures that we've got. I've got a medium reducer, which is good for about 70 to 80 degrees. And it's probably closer to 55 or 60 in here right now. I'll just let them sit overnight. They should be good. I may go ahead and run into town tomorrow morning and see if I can get a slower reducer, something closer for that 50, 55 degree range, 50 to 60, whatever they've got. That will help in the process since I will be doing each wheel individually tomorrow on the inside of the wheel. So that's, as I explained earlier, I'll be setting each wheel up on that stand and then painting the inside. Prior to doing that, I will have to go in and mask each one of these holes and the valve stem holes, wherever it's at on this one, so that we're not, blowing primer and base coat and other clear coat in here. You'd get pretty good overspray through those holes. So I'll mask that stuff off prior to putting it on the stand, get everything set up, and then same thing. Etcher primer, base coat, clear coat. More than likely, I'll probably try and do 2 to 3 coats. We will try and give it a pretty good shine on the inside of the wheel. We'll see how the first coat goes. Probably do a tack coat, then a second coat. If it looks good there, I'll probably leave it alone. But we won't know that until tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Well, I'm not the only one painting this week. Allison's painting up some Midnight Panic Greenlight collectibles. She's got quite the process going on here today, huh?
Yep.
How many are you gonna do today?
3. Try to do 3.
Try to do 3? 3 this week anyway, huh?
Yes.
Can't get in a hurry.
No.
Now off to the paint booth. See how our wheels turned out after sitting overnight. So I'm pretty happy with the way these turned out. Obviously sitting overnight, they're about as cured as they're gonna get. Now I can handle them without messing up the paint. I did go to town this morning and try to find a faster acting hardener for the paint that I'm using. There's only one store in town that actually carries this brand of paint. And they did have the faster acting hardener, but they wanted $91 for a quart. And I could buy that online for 35, 40 bucks. So rather than spend that extra money on a hardener that I'm rarely gonna use, if I think that I need to get this paint curing faster, I'm just gonna bring the temperature up here in my little makeshift booth. I've got a little propane heater I can set up, and basically I could probably point it right at the wheel and just let it set between application times. We can get this little area here up to 70 degrees, no problem with that little heater. So I'm just gonna go that route. And what I'm gonna do next is pull this curtain back here so I can move these wheels out back to where they were over in the other bay, and then start getting them set up on the fixture and bring them in here one at a time, get the insides of them painted. So that's what I'm gonna work on myself. So this actually worked out pretty slick. Where I had drilled the valve stem holes, I was able to put a lifting eye right through there, and that cherry picker lifted it just about the right angle to go right on that stand. So as you can see here, now I can get in there, finish cleaning up the inside here, get it ready for paint. On the back side, I will mask off these holes here. So all of it's all pretty accessible. That looks a little crusty and nasty, but I blew off the big chunks. Anything that's gonna fly off there has already done so. And on the inside after the first wheel, it's pretty much gonna be locked down with gray and clear by the time we're all done anyway. What little bit might fly off, it'll be stuck there. So here we go, continue on with this part of the process.
Don't rush me yet. I'm getting high as a motherfucker. Poke, 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 poke. Take it to the head. Take it to the head. Ah, you take it like a bitch.
Well, that pretty much wraps up this wheel. See if I can get some light in here and you can see how it turned out for the most part. Plenty good enough for a wheel, that's for sure. It's definitely a little tricky spraying that, especially the clear coat. It just fogs in there so much, but it is what it is. I think it'll look pretty good once we get them mounted in the tires and get this outer ring here painted in blue and bolted on here. I think it'll be a pretty nice combination. Now what I'll do is get the cherry picker back in here, pick the wheel up by the valve stem hole again, get it set out of the way, put the next wheel on and get started. This one's done, got 3 more to go. Well, good morning everyone. It's kind of a late night last night, but we got all 4 of the wheels painted. The majority, the big half of the wheels are all done. This last one here I just left in here overnight. So now what I'm going to work on today is getting this outer bead painted up. So they're going to be a different color. So the bead itself, you've got this groove in here for an O-ring. And then the part that bolts to that is just like this bead back here, with the exception of it is not welded to the barrel of the wheel. It is welded to a flange that has this same bolt pattern right here. So you put this half of the wheel through the tire, and then the O-ring sits in this groove, and then the outer part of the bead bolts on right here, and you end up with a complete wheel. And the advantage of that is just like my other set of wheels, you don't have to bar that tire over the bead to install the tire on the wheel. So I'm gonna get this thing out of the way, get my paint booth cleaned up here. It's kind of dirty from masking and unmasking and just general paint dust on the floor here. We'll get our mess cleaned up a little bit, and then I'm gonna try and figure out a way to set up all 4 of those rings on a stand so I can just paint them all at the same time. Try and get those things done this morning so they can sit and cure all day long, probably overnight as well. And maybe we can start installing some tires tomorrow. And just like that, these things have color on them. So this is a matte finish clear or a satin finish clear coat. However, it is still wet, so it's shiny for now. This will matte out, should match the blue on the back of the truck with that flat finish to it, matte semi-gloss, whatever you want to call it. We'll come back here in a little bit after this stuff flashes over and starts flattening out. Could you hurry up?
There.
All right, I've got one of the Michelins in here, all rigged up on the hoist in the shop. Got our scales on here, pretty close to zero. So we're gonna pick it up off the ground and see what this thing weighs. Again, this is a Radial Michelin on my Vora wheels. It's like 839 pounds. This is probably one of the heavier ones of the four, which two of them just had a little bit better tread than the other two. Probably isn't 5 pounds difference. Now we'll put this down, rig up one of the Marchers with my Adam Gates wheels. All right, now we've got the Marcher with the Adam Gates wheel on here. £770. A little bit of weight savings anyway. And before I go put this Michelin away, here's a good comparison side by side between the two tires. Pretty much same height. Looks like quite a bit difference in width and the crown, general shape of the tire. I'm really digging that blue ring on there. Now I got to get the other three mounted up, and then this job will be done. I've got two of these tires and wheels all mounted up now, and I'm really happy with how the assembly goes. It's really easy to just set this big old tire around the main half of the wheel, and then, put your O-ring in the groove, and then simply set this outer bead on and bolt it in place. There's no silicone to mess with, no extra cleanup. Just there is a little bit of stretching of that O-ring. It's just a tiny bit small to fit in that groove and just stay there. So you kind of got to work that O-ring a little bit. But that's kind of good. It's been rolled up into like a smaller circle in the plastic bag. So when you get it, it kind of wants to keep the memory of that shape. So by stretching it out, you get that thing worked and kind of loosened up. Lay it in the groove and then just put the outer bead on and bolt it down. I'm really happy with how that worked. Tires, I'm really happy with the tires. They've got a little bit more crown to them than the Michelins do. So that will actually make it a lot easier for installing the tires as well. You'll be able to kind of rock the tire over into the planetary hub, which that'll be nice. The big square tires, the Michelins, you're like rocking the whole weight of that tire up onto that square shoulder. There are a couple of things that I would like to address before closing out this video. I'm sure that some of the safety-minded folks were really not too keen on seeing me spray and paint in my little makeshift paint booth with nothing more than a rag over my face. I have probably had at least a half a dozen respirators go through this shop. And for the life of me, I could not find one this week when I was ready to do these wheels. That's really no excuse. There was a little bit more than just a rag over my face. I did have a small dust mask plus the rag. It's still not the right way to do that. So if you're watching this video, don't use me for an example or think that that's an okay way to do it. I just made do. To be fair, I did maybe a couple of hours total of paint work over a 4-day period. So it seems more condensed in the video than it really was. But with that said, I did go to town today and I picked up a new respirator. And this one here is going to go in this bag in my paint cabinet where I keep my paint warm and keep it from freezing. So the next paint project you see on this channel, I'll be wearing that thing. No ill effects so far from this week's little project, but I wouldn't get in the habit of going that route. That's why I went ahead and bought one of these while I was in town today. The second thing I'd like to talk about, which isn't nearly as important, but I thought I would just bring it up, and that is how I applied the paint to these wheels here. Now, I'm sure there are guys in the paint industry that are just pulling their hair out watching this video, you know, really questioning materials I used or procedures I used. The bottom line is I don't need the nicest finish or the most durable finish. I just needed to get them in color and keep them from rusting. They're going on a monster truck. You know what? The wheels inherently are just going to take a beating. And as far as, you know, procedures or materials used, you know, it'll do the job. These days we got guys clear coating over rust, and we're a far sight better than that on this deal. So all in all, I'm happy with how they turned out. And if you're a paint guy and don't agree with how I did this project, or maybe I skipped a step or two, I apologize. That's just not, I wasn't shooting for the best looking wheel. I just wanted to get color on them. And the last thing, before I wrap this video up, anytime I had a spare minute in between steps on painting these wheels, say I had parts in the paint booth drying, when I had a minute, any amount of time at all, Allison and I were out in the yard disassembling that Pettibone carry lift that I had hauled home last year. You know, I bought that machine for the 4 corners. We've already stolen 2 corners off of it. There's still 2 corners there that I want to get. But when it's all said and done, I have roughly a 25, 30,000 pound machine sitting in my yard that is good for nothing but scrap. I did film a little bit of content in what we've done so far. We still have a little bit of work to do before I can load that thing up and haul it into scrap. But if you guys are interested in that kind of content or seeing Allison and I working together, you know, I got her in the crane, running the crane more and more lately. If you guys are interested in seeing that, maybe drop a comment, let me know. If I get enough good content, I will try and put a video together of getting that machine out of the yard. You never know, you might see something else that makes the safety guys squirm a little bit.
Shake hands with danger.
And that's pretty much going to do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good one. There with the paint job.